Can you hear me? Okay. All right. Anyway, we old soldiers never die. We just fade away. So we're back again today. I'll give it to my colonel.
You notice who came first? There's a reason for that. He said he'd run over my toes with his wheelchair. But with that said, we do stand up here and recognize those who have gone on before and those who have served. We get to sit here as human beings, worship freely because of those who have been in uniform, both in war and in peacetime. And we don't want to forget the peacetime as well, because hopefully our services have put enough effort into it to keep other people thinking they'll beat us if we try to attack them. But we live in a very tenuous world today. And I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer, but it is a tenuous world. And it's very exciting from one side, because we're in the middle of change. And change is always fun, at least it was for me. And that's why I stayed in uniform. But I have a bride of many years, in fact, more years together than I had in uniform. But she didn't like all this change and moving every couple of years. And I just don't understand that. Anyway, we have had, and Doc and I had after the ceremony downtown last night, we went over and had a couple adult drinks and discussed some of the places that we've been and seen and had the opportunity to experience. And it's mostly, again, it's the people. Inevitably, I didn't have any drinks this morning, but the fact that we could, no, I didn't, Will, honest. But we always dropped it down to the people that we worked with, because they're the ones that kept you going. Just like we have a church, we keep going because of the people, our families, and that type of thing. So we do need to recognize, and we are crowded this morning, so I'm just going to ask all the servicemen, if you're just going to raise your hand if you served. Very good. Hi, Brian. We have a guest with us. Our judge. Chauffeur, that's right. This morning he's Doc's chauffeur. He's also my Kiwanian pal. But with that said, there was somebody that you don't get through the service and do all the things that we got to do without a support staff at home. So for all of you that stayed home, or all of you that were the support staff at home, raising kids and doing all those things, would you please raise your hands as well? If it hadn't been for that side, and yeah, there's probably the highest divorce rate in the world in the military. But with that said, if it hadn't been for the support at home, you couldn't do some of the things you're doing. I hate us. I'm sorry?
That's still true.
Oh, yes, yes. My life is better today since I retired and married again than it's ever been. There, that's your blessing for the day, my dear. So Doc always is more articulate than I am. And he's got something he wanted to share with you that some of you probably don't even know existed. So I would like him to expound on that, if you will, please.
I will. Thank you, Colonel. Yeah. As some of you know, I was born and raised right here in Eustis, Florida. And in fact, I was seated in my mother's womb in the chapel over there.
Conceived, did you say? I said, did you say conceived or seated?
Yeah, no, that's another story, how I was conceived. also in this church. But anyway, today I want to tell you the story of two hometown heroes. Being born and raised in this town, our neighbor across the street was the Fishers. And their eldest son, Ken, was 2 years my senior, tall, dark, handsome, very intelligent, graduated from Eustis High School, went to University of Florida, Gainesville, go Gators, and graduated with honor. He took ROTC, and upon graduation, he volunteered for the United States Marine Corps. He survived basic training at Parris Island, South Carolina, was commissioned a first lieutenant, and sent directly to Vietnam. 2 weeks after arriving in Vietnam, he was leading a Marine patrol through a rice paddy in the Delta of the South, and he stepped on an anti-personnel mine, and Ken was gone. Ken adopted me as a little brother. I was an only child. What an honor. And just like that, my big brother was gone. And Eustis mourned. Ken's buried at Greenwood Cemetery out here on Hazleton. Jerry Patrick, 2 years my junior. Jerry and I were teammates on the 1963 Eustis High School Fighting Panther football team that won the state championship. And by the way, we went undefeated. And Jerry was a star, and I was a first team All-American bench warmer. And so Jerry was very intelligent, good guy, painfully shy. After graduation from high school, Jerry enlisted in the U.S. Army with the stipulation he become a medic. For those of you who do not know, medics and corpsmen are the most dangerous jobs in the military because the first person the enemy tries to kill is the medic. Because when your medic goes down, your heart goes out of the fight. Because you know if you're wounded, you probably bleed to death right there. Has to be trained as a Huey medevac medic and graduated at the top of his class. And the call came in for a dust-off. There were dozens of dust-off calls every day. A dust-off is the code for we have wounded that need immediate evacuation. I'm sure Jerry sprinted to be the medic on that Huey, and they landed in a hot landing zone. That means the fight was still going on. I could see Jerry sitting in the door of that chopper with his feet, his boots on the skids, and the medic usually jumps about 3 feet off the ground with his 65-pound medic bag on his back. And Jerry saves the life of the first wounded, is shot, undeterred, saves the life of the second wounded, is shot a second time, undeterred, saves the life of the third wounded, shot now for the third time fatally. My friend, my teammate, died in that landing zone in that godforsaken country. A year later, Jerry's family was awarded the highest medal this country gives, the Congressional Medal of Honor. Jerry's buried at Memory Gardens out here. Yeah. And, you know, I'll tell you, when you hear casualty figures, they don't mean anything to you till you start losing loved ones like that. And I lost 6 of my own men in Vietnam. They were all medics and corpsmen. And my 6 men, I can see their faces as plain as day. I know their hometowns. I had the honor and privilege of writing the letter home for 5 to their families one to his young wife. And that's when it starts hitting home. I hope that Tuesday, Veterans Day, you'll pause to remember Ken, Jerry, my 6 men, and the over 1 million American servicemen and women over the past 250 years who have given their lives defending the freedoms, the privileges, the liberty that most people today take for granted. Freedom is not free. It has never been free, it ain't free now, and it never will be. And indeed, America is the home of the free because of the brave. So remember our servicemen. And with those thoughts in mind, I ask all who are willing and able to stand and face our flag. Congregation, attention, salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Congregation, as you were, please be seated.